Hello and welcome to my CSS Flexbox guide, where I will show you how each and every one of the CSS properties used in Flexbox work. And on top of that, you will see some additional examples and concepts that can be used to create more complex layouts. So let's get right into it. The HTML code will have a fairly simple structure. We will have a Flexbox container with inner boxes that will be dedicated to each property to show you how it changes the layout. Most of these will be the same, so you can easily copy and paste them. The only difference will be the amount of boxes inside and some additional class names. It does take some time to write the code here, but it is a necessary foundation for us to proceed with the Flexbox examples. In the last few examples, you will see that we will wrap the boxes in rows. I do this to make two-dimensional layouts with Flexbox. Flexbox is a great tool, but it doesn't have some of the features that CSS Grid does, like the amount of control over both axes. So this is one of the workarounds I use in simpler two-dimensional layouts, where Flexbox can still be used efficiently. You will see how it works in the later part of the CSS code. We will start the CSS by setting up a basic layout and environment for us to be able to visualize the Flexbox examples. And now we can start with the first property, which will be the display property. This property is what you need to get started. From before, you may know that you can display elements to be block or inline level. Well, Flex and Inline Flex do pretty much the same, and they also mark the element as a flexible container that will have its own child element's position in a Flexbox layout. Next is the gap property. It explains itself. There are multiple ways you can use it to define how wide the gaps will be between the rows and columns of your Flexbox layout. Now we can move on to the actual arrangements. Here are all of the different ways you can arrange the child elements in your Flex container horizontally. And these are the vertical alignment options. I made one of the boxes larger in height, so you can clearly see the difference. We gave a fixed height to our boxes earlier, so stretch cannot apply to them. But for any boxes that do not have a set height, the stretch value will apply and make them take up the whole height of the parent container. This is also the default value. Now, with the Flex Direction property, we can switch the direction to which the Justify Content and Align Items properties apply. Flex Wrap is a powerful property for responsive design. It will automatically wrap the boxes and move them to the next row when there is no room left for them. To define both the Flex Direction and Flex Wrap properties on one line, you can use the Flex Flow shorthand property. Now, Align Content gives you options for aligning these new rows that get created by the Flex Wrap property. This will be the same as with the Justify Content property. And as previously mentioned in the Align Items property, we also have the default stretch value that applies only to boxes that don't have a set height. And now we move on to properties that apply to the individual boxes rather than the parent container. The Flex Grow property simply specifies how much the item will grow relative to the rest of the flexible items inside the same container. And the Flex Shrink property specifies how much the item will shrink relative to the rest of the flexible items inside the same container. You can try resizing your browser to see how these changes apply more clearly. Flex Basis specifies the initial length of the individual boxes or flexible items, if you will. These three properties work together and can also be written in just one property, which is simply called the Flex property. Another thing you can do is change the order of the boxes. This can be beneficial if you need to rearrange items on different screen sizes to make the page look better. It is what I personally use it for the most. This property is the same as the align items property, but it is applied to a specific box instead of all of them at once. This gives you more control on the alignment of the individual flexible items inside the container. Now I will move on to some additional examples where I will be using a combination of all of the properties we have learned. You can see how I use the rows I created in the HTML here. I apply a flex layout to the rows that are stacked one on top of the other to create a two-dimensional layout. This, of course, creates more unnecessary divs, which doesn't happen when you are using CSS Grid, which I will also cover in future videos. But until then, I hope you find this quick Flexbox guide useful. The source code for this specific video will be available in the description of this video, and you will be able to download it for free on my Buy Me a Coffee page. You can also consider becoming a member on this page to get the source code from all of my videos and some additional stuff. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.